Hi, everyone. So, as I'm used to saying nowadays, let's do something a little different today. Oh, that's not it. We're going to do something a little different today. And we really are. I have had green tea on camera before, but this is a green tea I've had for 4 or 5 years now. This is a Taiwanese green tea from Sanxia, which is an area that's known for green tea in the north of Taiwan. And while there is Taiwanese style Bilochun and Longjing on the market, which isn't really anything like the real deal from China, it does kind of mimic the flavor profile of those famous Chinese teas. So let me hide that mess. All right, so these those teas are actually excellent. I really do enjoy them. They brew up very well. They're very forgiving to brew, and the quality of the tea itself is excellent. It is actually they're all produced from the same exact cultivar in Taiwan, and they try to mimic the flavor profile of Bilochon and Longjing, and it's actually very different from the real deal, if you ask me. It's sweeter, and the price to quality ratio is a lot higher with the Taiwanese stuff. Now, this stuff is different. This stuff is from the same area, but it's a much higher grade than those standard Taiwanese green teas. And this stuff was something I found way out in the east of Taipei City, almost outside of Taipei. And I actually met a vendor who had formerly lived in Hong Kong, and she spoke Cantonese. So that actually made for a very interesting transaction. Like we were talking freely in Cantonese, and she spoke some English. So yeah, it did help a lot to be able to communicate with her. And she tried to steer me away from this tea. This was a green tea that her father consumed every morning. Her dad was in his 80s and a regular cigarette smoker, and he drank this for his health. There is some evidence out there that green tea does help with preventing cancer and all that. I'm not going to get into all that. A lot of people don't like medical claims. I'll let you do your own research and you can look into that for yourself. So, I've had this tea for 4 or 5 years. It was so good. It was so interesting as far as flavor, and it had so much depth of flavor, and mouth cooling and all that. It just cooled down my entire system when I drank it, and it wasn't cheap, but it was so good that I didn't drink it. Like I put it away, and just made it a once in a while thing, just because I didn't want to burn through it. And I was so careful with this tea that it's now 4 or 5 years old, and it's completely changed color. It's not even green anymore, and now, when I took it out of the bag, when I first smelled the bag, it smelled kind of fermented and not like this tea smelled at all, like when I first got it. But now I'm getting aromatics that remind me of what it was like. But it's still very different. So, I'm going to go ahead and brew this in my Shibo today. And let's see what we get. So, using my regular method for green teas, I'm going to cool down the water. So, the water's probably around 97 or 98 Celsius right now, since I just boiled it and I've been talking for a little bit. That's the second pour. Here's the third pour. And I just realized something. If I'm timing something, I actually have a timer right on the screen on my phone as I'm taking this video. So I don't actually need to look at my watch. So from now on, that's how I'll do it. Okay? So I'm going to cover that up. Actually, no, I won't. I'm going to let it brew uncovered. Oh, I can smell the character now. It definitely smells kind of like it did when I first got it. Not as intensely aromatic, but still very, very pleasant. So, with old green tea, very often it tends to drop off. Some people do aged green teas. There's demand for aged Longjing in China, and while I haven't actually had any aged Longjing, I do have some sitting in a jar that I've kind of left to do its thing. So we'll see how that turns out down the line. Very often I re-roast greens. I turn them into hojicha, especially with old sencha, since that stuff just drops off too quickly, and I actually get kind of nauseous from that stuff if I leave it for too long, if the bag isn't sealed up tight. So always keep your bag sealed tight. That's the main thing. If you've got good tea, don't let the environment screw it up, because you're wasting your money. And tea takes a lot of effort to cultivate. So make sure your bags are closed up tight. This stuff has been closed up tight, but it's still changed dramatically over such a long period of time. So about another minute, and Yeah, you can roast your own tea. You have to go pretty high in temperature, 195, 200 Celsius, around that, to get to Hojicha level. And you do need to rest it after that, maybe 6 months to a year. I've done it with a number of different Sanxia, and I've done it with Vietnamese green tea as well, but not with this stuff. I've been hoping that this stuff would, still be enjoyable and pleasurable. And I've tried using it with, last year I tried using it with mint to make Moroccan mint tea. And while it did work, this tea is just too smooth and too subtle to really stand out with mint. Like, you need something a little rougher for Moroccan style mint tea, since they use pretty low grade gunpowder for that. So here's hoping that this turns out a little better this time. I'm doing a nice long infusion, and I've been drinking a lot of greens this year, a lot of Chinese greens. I prefer them to Japanese greens just for simplicity's sake. With Japanese greens, I have to stay on top of time and stay on top of water. I still do with this stuff, but it's a little more forgiving. Pan fried stuff tends to be more forgiving, especially when the leaf isn't as broken up. So, yep, let's give it another 20 seconds or so, and then we'll see what we have here. And I'm not going to use this pitcher to pour into, because this pitcher that I bought in Tokyo actually stains if tea gets into it. So I prefer not to use it for tea liqueur. I'd rather use glass. Okay, that's about it. That's time. Let's see what we have here today. So this bag's been in the kitchen where it gets really hot. It can get up to 37 or 38 Celsius in there, and it has this summer. Plus, it's been on top of the fridge, so it gets even warmer, maybe 40 Celsius. So this stuff's kind of been warm aged. Wow, it's really darkened up a lot. It was nothing like this when I first got it, or even in previous years. So sticking it on top of the fridge wasn't a good idea. In the cup or in the pitcher, it's still nice and light. Looks good. Looks like green tea. Maybe a little oolongy or like Yangsheng, but same kind of deal. It looks green. Let's see what we have. Okay, wow, now this is a surprise. This stuff's actually extremely flavorful. Wow. It's kind of developed a rose kind of character. But it still has a lot of the characteristics it had when it was young. It's definitely changed. It's smoother, perhaps a bit sweeter and mellow, but it's also very flavorful and very complex. This I didn't expect, because I haven't really tried brewing it properly in a while. It almost tastes like an Asamaka green tea, but without any of that smoke or wildflower funk that you get from Asamaka. So, this is actually aged surprisingly well. I'm in awe right now. Like, I never expected it to age that way. And I drank that entire first infusion. I was supposed to top it up, but I didn't. Apparently now we're going for a hot infusion. Well, I didn't mean to do that, but let's see how it turns out. I'll just have to shorten the infusion. So I'm looking at the timer on here, and I'm going to give it about a minute. So we'll go until 9:34 on my timer. If you're watching this video later, that may not correlate with what you see on your YouTube, simply because I'm going to trim the video a little. I have to trim off the first few seconds and the last few seconds, so you don't see me reaching out to turn the camera on and off. Or rather, to stop the video. It's not a camera, it's a phone. Okay, so yeah, we're using nice hot water this time. Let's see what happens. If we get any bitterness. I don't think it'll be bitter at all, just because it's such good tea. So we'll see. Wow, and I can actually feel the theanine. It's chilling me out. So this tea's held up beautifully. I actually need to go back. I want to go back and get more of this stuff. People don't really buy green teas for me. I don't know. They don't seem to think of me as being the green tea guy, but I actually really do like green tea, especially organic Chinese stuff. I like supporting organic cultivation in China, and especially higher level stuff, like stuff that meets USDA or even EcoCert standards, because that stuff's just so clean and you don't have to worry about it, and it's better for the environment, especially somewhere like Yunnan, which has such a high degree of biodiversity. So, nice and dark again. Not as dark as a previous infusion, but it should be interesting to see what happens with that shorter, hotter steep. Yeah, it smells stronger this time, the leaf. Hopefully it's not stewed. It shouldn't be. Not bitter or astringent at all. Very smooth. It's sweeter, more like caramel this time. But it still has that depth, that floral depth to it. Both infusions did. And that's what really drew me in with the stuff in the first place. This is amazing stuff. The fact that it's held up so well for 4 or 5 years is just incredible. Vietnamese green tea does as well, the good stuff. But I expected this stuff to drop off more. I definitely need more of this when I go back to Taiwan. So it's sweet floral, almost verging on fruity, but nothing I can quite pick out or discern, which is how it was when I first got it. It's just got a really exotic flavor to it, and sweet and pleasant and deep and complex, and I can't identify the notes. Kind of reminds me of baozhong, green baozhong, but different. Yeah, there's definitely something baozhong-y going on there. A little hint of fresh betel nut, actually. That's interesting. And the aftertaste. So there was a stronger aftertaste before. That's since receded. But wow, that actually has held a lot of its complexity over time. Okay, that infusion was so good that I'm going to do another one straight from the kettle. And I'll give it a minute this time. Let's just move it around a little just to get the leaves off the lid. Yeah. So I'm a little OCD about leaves on the lid or around the edge of the water in the teapot. I'm gonna keep it covered this time. Let's push it a little harder to see what we get. And I'm really getting chill off this tea. You know what? I'm gonna drink this regularly. I need to get through this bag. It's a waste not to drink it, and I don't think it's gonna get any better over time. It might. Who knows? But this stuff was just so amazing, fresh. Not that it isn't now. It's still really, really good. Which I didn't know it would be, like, going into this video. I just wanted to see what would happen, and it's been a pleasant surprise. This stuff's held up amazingly. I'm actually getting tea drunk off those 2 infusions. I'm really, really feeling this tea. So, loads of polyphenols here without being bitter. So, just really good tea. Perhaps the best pan-fried green tea I've ever had. The second might be Tamario Kucha from Japan. Japanese pan-fried green tea through Ocha. That's ocha.com. Watch out for that. There's a fake Ocha out there that's jumped on and tried to ride on the success on the coattails of the previous Ocha. So, no, Ocha and Co. Ocha.com is where you want to be. I think it's o-cha.com. Is it a hyphen or a dash? I don't know. One or the other. But, you know what I mean. I can taste more of the youth now at a higher temperature. Yeah, this tea still got so much distinctive character that it had when it was young. Some cantaloupe, which is a very Taiwanese oolong or qingxin note. I'm not sure what cultivar is used for tea in Sanxia, but I need to check. I should actually go out there myself to see what the fields look like and what the tea out there is like myself, since I really enjoy Taiwanese greens. Wow, this stuff's really hitting me hard too. Okay, well, I'm kind of glad I didn't burn through the bag, because this stuff's actually done really well over time. It's aged beautifully and it's mellowed out. Not that it was harsh to begin with, but it's just a different experience and not a bad one at all. So, yeah, wow. Since I'm already getting hot, I don't want to use cooler water, so let's do another hot infusion. And I see 15:15 on there, so we'll go out to 18:15. We'll give it a good 3 minutes. Ooh, I didn't expect the hit from this either. This stuff has got plenty of potency. So that's one thing about Chinese greens. They don't go bad quite as quick. Like Japanese stuff, when I open a bag of Japanese stuff, it's really 3 weeks when I open a bag of Sanxia. I have to get it done within 3 to 4 weeks or the quality declines rather dramatically. And yeah, that makes it a race against the clock to drink, which is like when I buy coffee, freshly roasted coffee. Not that I do that anymore, but when I used to, it was a race against the clock to drink it quick enough. I don't have to worry with Chinese greens. It's a lot less stressful to open up a bag of Chinese green tea, which is one of the reasons why I prefer it. That, and I like the flavor profile and the simplicity of brewing. With Japanese stuff, you have to get the temperature just right, you have to get the time just right, and little tweaks make a massive difference because it's so broken up. And with whole leaf stuff like this, it's much more forgiving. Oh wow. Also, there's quite a pronounced effect from the pan-fried stuff versus steamed. I don't know why that is. I'm not sure which has more polyphenols, but I definitely feel a pronounced effect from both. And I really do need a daily dose of theanine. It really does keep me level throughout the day. So green tea to start the day with has been amazing for me. I feel like my life's better for it. So it's something I should do regularly. Some people don't like green tea, but for me, I actually do enjoy it, and I enjoy the effect it has on me as well. So good reasons to drink it. And it makes my later sessions in the day less anxiety inducing, you could say. Like if I drink a strong pu'er or oolong later in the day, after drinking green tea in the morning, the effect on me is a lot less pronounced. So it's always good for me to start with greens. Green oolongs kind of have a similar effect, but it's a little bit different. I get more of an effect from white tea or green tea, especially white tea. White tea can have a really powerful effect, fresh white tea, and the good stuff. I don't drink cheap white tea. I don't drink the low grade stuff, simply because we have such great white tea around in Hong Kong. And yeah, I'm actually surprised that everyone carries such great white tea here because, well, not everyone. There is bad white tea out here as well, but there is good white tea out here, and I don't know anyone who really drinks it. I know I do, but I don't know anyone else in Hong Kong who has ever mentioned that they drink white tea. But the standard of white tea is just really high across the board. And I notice a lot of people in the West drink white tea cakes. I've actually never bought one. I've never even tried one because we just get such good loose white tea here. I've been drinking it all along, so I've never felt the need to buy a white tea cake. Especially aging it like pu'er just sounds like a failure, like a disaster to me, since there's so much complexity to good white tea that I wouldn't want to lose to the environment. I don't think it would age well if you try to age it like pu'er, especially somewhere hot and humid. I think all that delightful complexity would dissipate. So still very nice. Kind of tastes like beer. Yeah, kind of like an IPA, sort of, but sweeter and more pleasant as far as the florality goes. Most importantly, not bitter at all. So wow, this stuff's really something. Let's give it 5 minutes. The water is cooling off, but it's still plenty hot, so not too worried about it. Okay, this will be the last infusion since I don't want to bore you guys, and I need to run across town to pick up some very special Tie Guanyin today, as well as a lot of post-fermented Liu An, and what else do I need to pick up today? Oh, we're also going to an excellent restaurant. My girlfriend is studying for an exam, but I'm going to one of her favorite restaurants later, and she definitely wants to come along for that. Okay, I'm not paying attention to the time because I'm getting kind of tea drunk here. The chachi, the energy from this is really hitting me hard. So I think that's been about a minute. We'll give it four more. I'll stop at 24 minutes on my timer here. Wow. Yeah, this is having a pronounced effect on me. So yeah, just goes to show, pan fried green teas can hold up beautifully. Sanxia, you got to get through that stuff, or re-roast it and make it hojicha. Yeah, kind of like cantaloupe. It's held so much character. I'm in awe right now of how good this stuff is after all this time. So yeah, um, Vietnamese Asamaka greens, which are lovely high mountain. Oh, actually, they're not Asamaka. They're a local varietal, which is very similar to an Asamaka, and has been used to make pu'er type teas as well. That type of tea, Shantuget style tea, which means snowy mountain or snow covered actually, because they have like a layer of fine hairs on them. The good stuff does. Those teas, when processed as green tea, the examples I've had don't age well. So that's something that to keep in mind. I do enjoy those teas a great deal. They're amazing fresh, but not as good as when I first started drinking them. So for whatever reason, quality is declining. Maybe they're over harvesting, which isn't unusual. Human beings tend to latch onto a resource and just milk it for everything it's worth. And yeah, hopefully that's not the case in the high mountain regions of Vietnam. Commercial success and export means there's a lot more demand on that stuff. So that's something I was worried about years ago when I first discovered that stuff. I knew the tribes were consuming that tea and producing it for their own consumption, but once you start sending that stuff not only all over Vietnam but all over the world, you're putting a lot of pressure on traditional methods and the limited resources that are available up there. And that is something that kind of made me want to shut up and not talk about those teas because people didn't need to know how good they were. Because yeah, I didn't want the quality to decline, and I feel like it might well have declined as a result. You can't go back and plant old trees again. Like, well, you can plant old trees. You can plant trees and wait for them to get old, but that's not going to happen in our lifetime. So that's a downside to gushu type stuff or even laoshu. People tend to overexploit resources, and tea is definitely no exception. It's very easy to pick tea leaves. Well, no one people actually pay people to do it. It's not that easy. I've picked tea myself, and just picking fine tips to make half a cup of tea took me quite a while since I was the second person to go out there picking. This is on top of a mountain over here, where there's an abandoned tea estate, and I should get up there to pick some autumn tea. I don't think anyone's really harvesting the autumn stuff. Everybody wants the pre-Qingming. But I could try to make some hong cha with that stuff if I just go picking. Something to consider. One issue is it's a mixed bag of plants up there, but I guess I could pick plants that look similar to try to get a uniform effect. Or just blend whatever's up there and see what happens. And this stuff's really hit me hard. I didn't have any tea yesterday, so this session is really hitting me much more than I expected. I'm having trouble speaking right now after drinking this stuff. In the best possible way. And time. Let's pour. So there's some debate about the height of your pour. Some people say pouring too high will cause aromatic loss. Some people say you need to pour high to aerate the liqueur. So experiment with that. Let me know what you think. I should experiment with it as well. I haven't in a while, but I don't even remember my findings. It's been so long. I don't think it made an appreciable difference. Just sweet and beery again. Like a very pleasant, sweet beer, kind of, with just hops. Just the very lightest hint of marine there, which I don't remember. And wow, this stuff does so well at full boil. So I love green teas that hold up well with age, and can handle full boil. There's only two green teas I know that can really do that, and that's this stuff and whole Taiwanese Sanxia green teas in general, and Vietnamese Thai Nguyen or Thai Nguyen teas. Those teas really hold up well. What a session! And this stuff still smells like I could push it for a couple more infusions. So this material is just unbelievable. This wasn't cheap, but it was worth every Taiwanese dollar. That's how the leaf looks. Surprisingly dark. It was very vividly green when I first got it. So, excellent stuff. Don't toss your old greens if they're pan fried. They might still be good. Try them out before you toss them or roast them. And that is it for me for today. That was a good session. I gotta keep drinking this stuff. I gotta get through this bag and then get back out to Taiwan for more, some fresh stuff. Alright, thanks for watching.